Greetings and welcome to the podcast, episode 3. I am your host, Richard Diosio. As always, I want to thank you for taking the time to download the podcast. Today, we got a great guest for you lined up, someone that we haven't seen in the mix in MMA for quite some time, almost a 2-year layoff, but he's back in the cage. He was victorious this past weekend at Tachi Palace Fights. That's the underdog, Casey Olson. We're going to be chatting with him momentarily. We're working on getting him on the line. Let's see if we can patch him in shortly. Victorious at Tachi Palace Fights over the weekend. 2-year layoff. The underdog returns. Team captain of Team Underdog, Casey Olson, joining us. Casey, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me.
Hey, I appreciate everything. So much to talk about. It's been 2 years since fans here in the Valley and fans nationwide have seen you compete. You came back Friday night at the Palace there. You were victorious. 2-year layoff, a new weight class, very game opponent. What do you think about your performance overall after the layoff?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely. I mean, first thing first is I'm definitely happy to get the victory and the win. There's no doubt on what kind of opponent that Cody was, and if he was going to be game or not. I knew he was going to be 100% ready to rock and roll and ready to come at me the whole time. The number one thing we all just kind of worried about is just the ring rust. You know, I mean, no matter how hard you train for a fight, when you haven't been in that situation where your nerves are running, your adrenaline's running, and you're just put in all kinds of situations. I mean, you're just not sure how you're going to react, and I mean that was it really, just a little bit of ring rust, and there's times where I felt like thinking back now where I definitely could have pulled the trigger a little bit more, and I didn't, but I'll get that out, to the next part of training, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, you talked about the ring rust, and I think that's what everyone was just kind of anticipating to see how you were going to perform, knowing there was going to be some of that ring rust, but at what level? You mentioned a very game opponent, Cody Gibson. He came out, and at that point, were you kind of was it muscle memory, or were you kind of forced to engage and defend and fight back, if you will?
Well, the good thing what we did is I knew he wasn't afraid to just stand up and bang. And the thing about that is, it's no matter who you're going against in this fight game. I think if all the people out there who are MMA lovers, they know that if you stand up and bang, anybody has a shot. And definitely with his first fight back, I definitely wanted to play. I mean, I don't want to say I played it safe, but I definitely wanted to. I didn't want to get caught up. And I just stand and bang and get knocked out or have something dumb happen to myself. So I feel like I'm a much smarter fighter than that. Sometimes it's not always the most exciting times, but I really just wanted to come back and get a win under my belt. The muscle memory. I mean, we ended up. I kind of pulled him into wrestling with me, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to wear him out. That way. And he was trying to wear me out, throwing me up a cage, and kind of wore up my arms a little bit. That's why I definitely know some new things I'm going to have on as far as training and getting back, the ring rust out. But I made him kind of fight my game, which was the best way for me. Is he wanted to, as you could tell, he kind of got upset in the third because he wanted to just stand in the middle and throw down, and I made him come to me. And anytime, and I'm more of a close action kind of person. I love being inside, throwing punches that way, keeping the pressure on you that way, and making him come to me kind of worked out for my benefit, actually.
Yeah, we're talking with Casey Olson, and you did have him play into your game plan, and talking about the ring rust, you anticipated that going into the fight. What was it like? Let's backtrack a little bit. Leading up, once the fight was signed, once you made your decision to come back into the cage, what was it like returning? Was it just like old times, returning back with your team, or any questions? Did you have any doubts in terms of your commitment to the fight game?
I didn't have any doubts on my commitment. I mean, I was definitely excited to come back and definitely excited to train. The different was my lifestyle. My lifestyle is much different now than what it was when, I was training full time and fighting was a full career for me. I now have a full time job working at a high school and being a wrestling coach and working there full time every day. So I mean, my days are already full, going from 7 to 5:30, and so really it was just really making sure that I have the time to train. And I'm a person who doesn't mind being busy by any means, but I lengthened my day even more by doing my strength conditioning in the mornings, training at nights when I'm at the gym, in between teaching classes. And so and that'll most likely happen again. It's just the fact of how my training will change a little bit. I didn't get as much sparring in as I would like, and that just had to do with the timing. And I didn't get to go down to San Luis or to train much at the pit as I would like, because we're in the hardcore part of wrestling season at the school. So weekends of where I might have been able to go different places and train with different guys wasn't there. So it was really a lot of this last part was done on my own and just preparing myself. And so the number one thing that I wanted to make sure is that, one, I was in shape, and and two, coming down to a new weight class, just managing my weight so that cut didn't hurt me, and I still had plenty of energy at the fight. And now that I know I can do that, now this next would be definitely to make sure I get more of the needs that I need for my training.
Right. So yeah, you mentioned the weight cut. So is this a division we're going to see you at, competing at 135?
Yeah, for a little bit. I went down to, before I decided to actually make the fight, or take the fight. I went down to LA and hung out with Chuck, and we spoke about it. We spoke. I told him I had the urge to get back into it, and we were talking about, I definitely don't want to do this if I don't have a chance to, make it to the UFC. Well, I don't want to say I don't want to do this, but that's always a goal for everybody. I want to be around where there's the best, and one of my bucket list, and one of the things I've always said I wanted to do was, fight one time in the UFC, and that was a goal that I had, before my father passed, and still something that I wanted to do. And we just kind of talked about it, and we both talked about how big this sport is growing and how everybody's dropping down, and if I can make it and I can do it the right way where I can feel good, that would probably be a good weight for me. And I don't want to have any. I'm a guy who doesn't like regret, and so I figured, hey, if I try it or I lose, then I know I'm not supposed to be there. But I mean, you'll never know until you try. So that's why from that point on, it took me 2 months to really kind of manage my weight and get myself down. I mean, I started at 165 pounds,
Wow.
and slowly managed my weight to where I was feeling good and eating every single day at 150 pounds. Then from there it was really just a big cut. So, but yeah, I plan on being here for a little while, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's always a chance that I might go, back up to 45s if there's a good fight there, and a good opportunity. But for right now, I mean, I've been busting my butt to keep my weight down, so we're gonna do it one more time.
There you go. Yeah, you talked about the influence that Chuck had, obviously referring to MMA great UFC Hall of Famer Chuck Liddell. How much of an influence did he have, not only in the training? You mentioned the conversations that you had with him, but how has he been, kind of outside of the sport as well? Has he been a mentor in your career and in your personal life?
Yeah, he's become definitely a great friend of mine. I actually just saw him 3 weeks before the fight. Went down to Calabasas to his new house and just kind of hung out with him for a day. But I mean, he's around the sport when it's just growing. I
Right.
mean, he knows the ins and outs of it, and he is very good about fighting. He knows fighting. He knows techniques. Um, he knows what you should and shouldn't do, and we just talk about those things. And then he was an old school wrestler. He wrestled at Cal Poly, so we kind of talked about the weight cutting. He knows those things. He knows what it takes to do that. It really, in the latter part of his career, when things were winding down for him, he actually learned a lot about himself and his body. And I mean, really, his last couple fights were the best he ever looked. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way,
Right.
but he brought in guys like Sammy Henson and new training staff and really changed his whole lifestyle and body around. And that's kind of the things we talked about. When we first started, when this sport was just going and he was just building up, it was hey, just fight and party, you know. And but now obviously you can't do that. You have to be
Sure.
well trained in every aspect of the sport, and you have. I mean, you have to make it a lifestyle. It has to be a lifestyle. It has to be a life change of how stay healthy. You keep your body healthy. Obviously, after a fight, everybody guys to binge a little bit.
Right.
That's fine, but you can't do it too long, and you go right back to making it a lifestyle of yourself.
Yeah, so yeah, you mentioned that that's a lifestyle that you're committed to. Obviously, having that conversation with Chuck Liddell. Now you got the fight out of the way. You're back. You knocked off that ring rust. You're going to continue to work on that. You know, before the layoff, we found you, in the mix, competing for Strike Force and building up an impressive fight resume. After this fight here, do you have plans for another fight right off the bat? And if so, now that you're back on the scene, do you consider yourself in the mix, so to speak?
I don't know. I mean, really, this one. I mean, I'm definitely. I mean, I'm not mad at anything that I did in this one. I mean, like I said, I knew the ring rust was going to hit, and there's things I think I could have done better. There's things I think I did pretty well in the fight. But I also believe that there's always room to improve at any aspect. Um, I don't not really looking too far into the future. I mean, I'm 8 weeks away from my next one, and it's a very very tough opponent in Francisco Rivera,
Oh,
who is a heavy-handed, heavy hitter,
right.
and a UFC vet. So he's going to be a gamer. He's going to be ready to go, and he's going to be ready to try to knock my head off, just like he pretty much did on the other night.
Yeah.
But it's another challenge that I'm up for, and we'll see how that one goes, and then we'll look forward. The thing about my career now is this is this isn't my first, my main priority in life now. I'm doing fighting now because I like to do it, and it's something that I still am looking forward to doing it, and if I can follow those dreams and not give up and make it to the UFC, that's great. And if not, if that's not the way it's supposed to be, I believe things happen for a reason. Then I have Plan B going on. So I'm not really, I haven't looked past that or past this fight by any means. We finally just got through this one, and I'm kind of excited that the next one is so close because
Right.
I didn't really want to take too much time off. So I'm kind of excited that I can get right back into training, and luckily I didn't get hurt in this last one, and I get back into it and train for a 25-minute bout.
Yeah, we're chatting with Casey Olson here, victorious over the weekend at Tachi Palace Fights, and he mentioned that his next opponent was also on the fight card as well. Both of those fights, Rivera's fight and Olson's fight, they are, I believe, still streaming and available for viewing at SureDog.com. So you can check out Casey Olson's fight and check out his next opponent and start building up the hype and rebuilding the fan interest. I know for this fight, there were a lot of fans out there that were anxious to see you back in the cage, and I'm sure they're anxious to see you back in the cage so quickly. With that being said, you mentioned now you're wrestling coach, teacher. Are your students are they your biggest critics, or what do they think coming off of Monday morning back in class and then heading out to the evening sessions?
It's really kind of cool. Everybody at the school and even Clovis Unified has been really supportive. Um, and I think for me, being a coach, I think for all the coaches I've ever had, sometimes it's always hard to listen to a coach
Sure.
who, even if he's done something great, because it's before your time, and he's great, but it's like you don't get to actually see it. And I think for the one good aspect that I can bring to the table right now is, I'm doing something that, when I talk to these kids and I talk to them about never giving up and working hard and giving 100% and putting in the extra work, not just talking it. I'm not. It's just not coming out of my mouth. I'm actually doing it. And they get to see that. And no matter if I win or lose, it's just the fact that they're actually seeing the hard work that I'm putting in. And so I'm kind of, instead of just saying it and maybe have been an example in the past, I'm being one now. And for me, that's what I've always wanted to do, and inspire the young kids and to work hard and not give up. And I get to do that not just by my voice, or just the way I coach in the room, but by my own, by what I'm doing in life. And a lot of them were excited. I had a lot of my wrestlers there. I had a lot of my students there, and they were really excited to see it. They some of the admin think I'm absolutely crazy. Some of the kids think I'm absolutely crazy. But they got to see what my transformation from, in December when I decided to take the fight, and I told everybody, and then they saw how I transformed my body and losing the weight, started getting in shape, and started and following my post of how I was working hard in the morning, before work, and after, and so it was kind of, for them, it's kind of exciting to actually be a part of something like that. And sometimes, that's what, when in my own wrestling career, sometimes you get yelled at by a coach and you're just like, what? Things have changed since you were here. But for me, it's like, well, I'm doing it with you, so there's no whining about it. We're going to go on a 3-mile run, and I'm going to do it with you. And if you're sprinting, you're saying your legs are sore, well, so are mine.
Right.
So I think hopefully that brings in a new aspect for them.
Yeah, definitely, and that's got to be inspiring as well. For a young athlete to see an elite professional preparing for a fight, almost kind of gives them an inside glimpse, or they were kind of adopted members of your fight team, so to speak.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you become a coach, you obviously don't do it for the money. You don't do it
Sure.
for, especially in the high school or junior high, or you're working with kids. You do it because you have a passion. You have a passion to want to see others succeed, and that's definitely what I want. And um, I work at a very new school at Clovis North High School, and
Right.
it's only its fifth year. And trying to find some ways to inspire some of these kids, I hopefully found a little bit, by doing it myself, and by them reaching down and kind of seeing what I put myself through, um, instead of them just trying to believe what I've done in the past. So it's happening now, and they actually get to see it. So hopefully that works. For the future.
Yeah, it's got to be great to have that kind of influence, and to be kind of in the center, working with students and working with athletes. Speaking of which, MMA is kind of interesting because you see U.S. athletes making the transition from the collegiate wrestling Division 1A and whatnot. That's not the case when you look at NBA, or when you look at other sports where students are quickly making the jump, or rushing through college, leaving early. Some of the wrestlers, you see the transition from high school to college, and then jumping in, either pursuing Olympics, which we got coming up, or jumping into mixed martial arts. So do you see some of these kids kind of long term looking at developing a career through wrestling, which probably you didn't have as many options when even you were wrestling coming up?
No, I mean we didn't. I mean for me it was is after you're done with your college career,
Right.
you go into either freestyle or Greco-Roman, and you're trying to make the Olympic team. And as great as that sounds, and having an old teammate like Stephen Abbott, who
Right.
was got a silver medal in Olympics. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of money to be made. I mean, it's definitely a hard sacrifice, and it's more of that empowerment in yourself. But there's not a career that you can make on that. And these guys, are seeing what these pro athletes are doing in the MMA world, in the UFC, and everybody wants a little piece of that. And it's a sport that is absolutely just booming. I have elementary kids who are taking boxing and taking kickboxing and doing jiu-jitsu now, along with wrestling. It's a sport that's only going to get bigger. That I would not be surprised in one day that maybe wrestling is gone, and you have MMA in the high
Sure.
schools. I mean, that's a far fetch for people to see maybe right now, but I would say in if you're watching Back to the Future, one day you'll be seeing MMA in high school.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly plausible because you look at even boxing and how that's progressed. At one time, that was heavy in the school systems, definitely at the college level, and you see that as interest fades away, so too does the funding in the sports. You're seeing that, especially with your alma mater, Fresno State, once had a well-known historic wrestling program, and that went away. And you're talking about the revival of other sports involved with mixed martial arts. Do you think we could see something, a program at Fresno State within short term being 5, 10, 15 years?
I would like to say yes, but you don't know. I mean, this economy is not
Yeah,
getting. I mean, eventually there will be a point where this gets a little bit better, but I mean, you're looking at money is everything right now, and with gas going up to almost $5 a gallon, I think from what I heard, it's almost at 6 over in LA now.
and
I
it's
mean,
not
it's getting
stopping.
crazy, and it's going to get even crazier. So I would like to say that we're going to have wrestling back. It's a huge community here, especially in the valley with Clovis. Clovis is actually the number 4 city in the nation for wrestling, and we have the number 2 high school in the nation with Clovis High, and so I mean it's a huge community, and there's nowhere else to go in the state of California besides Cal Poly and Cal State Bakersfield.
Right.
All the other schools in California have cut their programs. So the West Coast is it really is, it's kind of dying down on wrestling and still being led by the East Coast. But it would be nice to have, um, you know, to have that program back, and which would also help with the MMA around here.
Sure.
Because for these guys to come here and go to college, I mean, I know Arizona State, where they have where Ryan Bader are. They have a lot of those guys are ex wrestlers over
Right.
there, and they've started their own MMA thing. And with Josh Koscheck over here and myself, I mean, it would be awesome to have some wrestlers come in and start building them up slowly but surely as they're going through their college career. That would be an ideal thing, but I hope we can get it back. It'd be a great thing. I know there's a lot of people pulling for it. I know that Coach DeLito is still fighting for it every single day,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah, it's good. We have a few seconds, a few more seconds here with Casey Olson, and who would have thought the return to the cage, and we're going to be chatting education and wrestling in the Central Valley. But Casey, with your victory, again, you talked about your plans, both short term and long term. Have you discussed with the folks over at Tachi in terms of what you want to do? Did they lock you into a 2, 3 fight contract?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have I definitely signed a 3 fight deal. So I definitely got a couple more with them, and this next one coming May 10th for the title against Francisco would be my second one. I have no idea. Like I said, I haven't looked at or past that, and I don't plan to. Um, and we'll just kind of see how this one goes. This is going to be a big one. It's 25 minutes. It's 5 rounds, and like I said, it's against a hard nosed, heavy hitting veteran. So it's gonna be a barnstormer, and we'll try to get through that one.
Yeah, it should be an entertaining fight. Your fights are always entertaining. We want to welcome you back to the cage. We love what you're doing as an athlete, as an educator. Your website. What's your web address to your website?
It's what is it? It's teamunderdog24.com.
There you go.
And I think they're still working on. It's been so long since we've had to update it. I think they're still working on re-updating some things, but you can always check me out on Facebook. I put all my posts up there and everything, or Twitter. I'm always trying to update things there and post everything of what's going on in my life and what's going on with fighting. So
Yeah, we
anybody
appreciate.
is more than welcome to follow me on those.
Yeah, we appreciate again the time and the conversation, and you talked about the ring rest, and you gave an example of that. Just trying to get back in the mix, update all your contact information. What's one of the things that has changed since your layoff? I mean, is there some things that look different, both good or bad in your eyes, in terms of the sport of mixed martial arts?
Um, you know what? I think really there's not too much bad things about it. I mean, it's definitely grown and it's building. I think that just the whole demographic of who follows now is growing tremendously. I mean, people that when I first started and everybody thought I was absolutely insane, and but then they started watching me and they started liking it, and then everybody that I've kind of brought in that has followed me have started to love the sport. And I think that if people give it a chance, people that have that first initial reaction of it, or that um, first response to it, it could be a little brutal at times, and it could get a little bloody at times. But I think the number one thing is these kids, everybody in this sport are athletes. They work their butt off, and we have a lot of good mentors in the sport. We really do. They would have a lot of great guys who would love to just inspire people, and I think they're starting to do that. And I'm seeing that as the younger demographic is. When I was growing up, it was Hulk Hogan. It was WWE.
Right, right.
And guys like that. But now you have guys that want to be the next Uriah Faber, that want to be the next Chad Minnis, that want to be the next Chuck Liddell, that want to be the next GSP. It's these guys that are doing the real thing, that are going out there and putting their body to the test, and really doing it. And I think it's just an amazing thing and it could be. I think in any sport, you have the guys who are maybe not so good of examples, and
Sure.
then you have a lot of guys that are. But I believe that there are a lot more good examples than there are bad in the sport.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems like you're associating yourself with those that are good for the sport, including yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, we're chatting with Casey Olson. Casey, I don't want to take much more of your time. I want to cut you loose so you can make it to practice on time. And we look forward to seeing you competing back in the cage, Tachi Palace Fights. We're looking forward to that fight. So let's stay in touch.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. That's the underdog, Casey Olson. We want to thank him thank him so much for taking the time to chat with us. Really, it's good to see him back in the mix, back competing in the cage, focused on his career as a martial artist and his career as an educator and mentor to youth in the community, and also we definitely appreciate a good Hulk Hogan reference from here and there from time to time, and certainly he was Hulk Hogan was someone that I looked up to, as probably everyone my age, and including Casey as well. Let's see if we got the. Oh no, I'm not going to go there. I was going to give my attempt at a Hulk Hogan impression, but I don't want to do the man injustice. He has enough problems going on as it is. I think what I'll do is I'll spend the next time searching through my shoebox here and pulling out a tape of the Hulk Hogan theme song. He had many of them. I don't know what your favorite was, but I appreciated the NWO entrance. I liked his the original one, not the one from the Rocky one, but the other one. I can't think of the name of the song offhand, but if someone has it, shoot me an email, richarddoc@me.com. Who would have thought this would have turned MMA, youth wrestling, education, and then end it on a pro wrestling note. So as always, thank you for taking the time to download the podcast. We'll end it there. Until next time. Good night.
Bet 'em up, fam. Get 'em up, damn. Y'all don't know who I am. Stay true to what I do. And I ain't new to none of this. I'm only new to you. Moving through with art be incredible. The Afro flow. You better act like you know, bruh. My percussionists be crushing it. The son de soon the yada, so why they honor your father. A lot of us rushing the game, but never think if it's a game, someone must get played. So I guard my cards, watch nervous cat fold 'em like Texas hold 'em now. And keep an ace in the hole. Independent artists know hard is what makes them whole. So we don't follow charts or trends. We only got 'em on the water, throw darts at them. Now bring it in. Bet 'em up, get 'em up. That's how we give it to 'em all day. Bet 'em up, get 'em up. Yeah, that's how we give it to 'em all day. Bet 'em up, get 'em up. Yeah, that's how we give it to 'em all day. Bet 'em up, get 'em up. Podcast. day.
jëfal sa wax bu dee dëgg ci yow jëfal sa wax